Hey guys, Virginia Schmidt here from Divinity School. Welcome. A community where we come together to share in and celebrate and express and practice, be the divinity that we are. So today I got inspired by a few things. I guess it started yesterday. Yesterday I was talking with a local neurologist here in Cody, Wyoming. His name is Dr. Alan Gee, and he owns a place here in Cody called The Healing Space, where I used to teach yoga, and does a lot of really fantastic and sort of world-class like brain research there. And he and I were having some conversations, and I've got some fun tie-togethers when it comes to being able to live more experientially and practically as the love, the peace, right? The perfection and peaceful eternity of what we are. So on a physiological level, he and I were talking a lot about the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system, right, is that fight or flight response. It's reactionary. It's stress, it's cortisol. It's like your mind is stressed when the sympathetic nervous system is activated. The parasympathetic nervous system is rest and digest. It's relaxation. You could think of the sympathetic fight or flight as contracted and the parasympathetic as open, relaxed, right? So this all feeds into each other. So we are looking for the parasympathetic nervous system to be activated. And it's in that state of relaxation, of openness, that we can pretty much do everything better. I mean, actually perform better, learn better, but see more clearly, feel more clearly, and feel more connected with the peace and the divinity that we are. Because when we're relaxed, we feel safe. And when we feel safe, we're experiencing that truth that we are always safe. So Dr. Gee made a really good point that we have evolved, and what our impulse is biologically, or this sort of animal nature of us, the body, is the sympathetic nervous system. So in a time of just when anything unexpected happens, which happens all the time, right? To go to fight or flight, to tighten, to constrict, to, take, to take from being able to see the whole landscape, or even like give blood to all of our body, to bring it in and only focus on this one emergency and only, keep our most vital organs safe and that kind of thing. It's very constricting. And over time, there's obviously a lot of medical research that shows, it degrades our chromosomes, like it has a lot to do with aging, and it is linked to a lot of different diseases. So Alan made a really good point that on this journey of mindfulness, Dr. Alan Gee, this neurologist, that on this journey of mindfulness, we're essentially practicing training ourselves to go to the parasympathetic nervous system instead at any given point. Right? And so these are these practices for mindfulness and embodiment. I mean, that's just another thing that they help us do. But it made me think of horses, because, and we're essentially training horses to do that, right? My dear friend Meredith, who is a very good trainer, was talking a lot about training her horse, Freya, how when something unexpected happens, the first thing Freya does is lower her head and look to herself for this soothing. Well, a horse with a lowered head that is blinking, that is licking and chewing, that is a sign of that is a sign of a relaxed horse, that they have had at least a moment of relaxation. And another way to say that, right, would be activated the parasympathetic nervous system. Versus you see a horse that has its head really high and isn't blinking and has all this, like, you can sense that the energy is about to blow up. Like, that's very like fight or flight. And so in horse training, we are communicating with the horse to help them practice in whatever situation comes up, instead going to that place of relaxation and safety rather than fear and fight or flight. And so we can do the same thing with ourselves. And that is what we're doing. And so I just wanted to talk about a couple of things that have been working for me, just to remember to come into that point of relaxation and activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Because sense of our divinity, sense of oneness, sense of love happens from a place of relaxation and expansion. When we can feel, when we are, right, like the whole landscape, when we're embodied, when our blood is like flowing like relaxedly and well throughout our body, like the parasympathetic nervous system is when relaxation and rejuvenation happen. Like it's where healing happens, actually, is another really good way to say that. And it's also where like beautiful ideas and insight happen, because again, it's like we opened up, and so then things can come in rather than this really tight place of like, I'm protecting this so nothing can come in. We're relaxed and in that place of no longer trying to look for safety, and instead knowing that we are safe, like new ideas and new information and sort of the truth of the whole landscape that we are, rather than this constricted, cut off thing, that oneness of all that we are can come through. And so I just wanted to share a couple, like, so then I was like, okay, I'm going to go look up ways to activate the parasympathetic nervous system, because I just had this thought. I was like, oh, well, if we do the things that I know means a horse is essentially activating its parasympathetic nervous system, like having a release, because horse training, right, is all about pressure and release. That's another tie-in we can make. So the sympathetic nervous system is like that place of pressure. And then you're looking, maybe the horse is going there, and you're just looking for that moment where they can find the release and show them like that release is always there. And so we're looking to show ourselves that. So when I went to look it up, one of the first things it said is you can touch your lips, like touching the lips is a way to relax yourself, to help activate your parasympathetic nervous system. Well, that's interesting, because one of the first things that I just said about horses is licking and chewing, right? So I'm sure like doing that also, but what I thought of earlier today is just like, so maybe touching your lips, but also it's got to be like clenching the jaw, right? Because when we're in, so often we all do this, or at least I do this unconsciously throughout the day. So like I'll come to consciousness of my jaw and feel that my teeth are clenched and my jaw is tight, and just relaxing my jaw and almost getting this feeling of like licking and chewing. And yeah, maybe you touch your lips. Another thing that I like to do a lot, that I have heard and that indeed does activate the parasympathetic nervous system, is sighing. Well, essentially, so you can just do a sigh. That's what horses do too. If you hear a horse do that, lower their head and lick and chew, you've got parasympathetic nervous system release, relaxation going on. Something's being learned, something's being taken in. It's expansive. And so one of the things you can do is you can just sigh like that, or you can consciously just do even a few breaths where your exhale is extended. Your exhale, you're counting how long your breath is, and your exhale is longer than your inhale. So for instance, say you do a 3-second inhale, maybe consciously in your belly, and you hold for 2 seconds, and then maybe do a 7-second exhale. And you can do a few rounds of that, or however long your exhale can be, just longer than the inhale, and that activates your parasympathetic nervous system. And then the other thing, I'm just guessing this was not on the list, but like I said with the head lowering thing, well, that really came to me. I went to church this morning, and right, that's the attitude of surrender, but it's also something that you can only do if you feel safe. If I feel unsafe, there's no way I'm going to be doing, there's no way that I'm going to be doing this. I guess there's like a submissiveness that could be talked about that more. Cause I know there's also like, there's a lot of power to having this like high up, like, doing this kind of thing. But for the sake of activating the parasympathetic nervous system, I do have a hypothesis that when the intention is relaxation, right, rather than like fear or like defeat, that just like, it's like praying. That's the energy and intention that I'm talking about, because I had experience in church today. Like I was like, oh, lowering the head, and then I felt myself relax my jaw, and I just felt that that relaxation of like, oh, just like a horse, like that must activate our parasympathetic nervous system. It's a sense of release. But in that way, I would just say, so anything that signifies safety and relaxation in terms of embodiment, like things that you would only do if you were really relaxed, can help activate this. So another thing I was saying is like really bringing your weight into your feet, and maybe, you know, doing some breathing exercises of exhaling down, imagining roots going into the ground. Because when you're fully relaxed, like putting weight onto all parts of your feet and feeling that connection with the ground, that's a very grounding, relaxed energy, which is different than like, I kind of have to be like up on my feet because I might have to run at any second. So yeah, I just thought that these were some really cool practical tips, and I love tying in practical exercises and, you know, truths that show up in maybe a variety of different channels, whether it's horsemanship, whether it's neurology, you know, whether it's spirituality, and seeing like these are all saying the same thing, and here's how we can actually experience those. So I'd love to hear some tips that you guys have and can share with each other for activating the parasympathetic nervous system, or what all of this means to you, how it's tying into you, how maybe you've experienced times like this, and maybe times of pressure where you chose to find that release of activating the parasympathetic nervous system, which, you know, I think at its deepest place, when it comes from a place of true realization of the safety, you know, it's like choosing essentially to go give it to the Holy Spirit and trust in God, right? And that's when that divine guidance can come to you, is when you relax into yielding to the divine, relax into already being safe with the divine and taken care of in that. And then you're in that place of relaxation and rejuvenation where you can truly, easily, flowingly, without wear and tear and all this tightness, but from this place of fluidity, of what is suppleness, right? Relaxation, openness, expansiveness, suppleness. Realize that you are perfectly capable of everything that needs to be done, because you can see the big picture rather than being, you're in that expanded state of love and relaxation, which I think is physiologically represented by the activation of our parasympathetic nervous system while we're in these human bodies, versus fear and contraction and sort of anxiety, as represented by the sympathetic nervous system. And I'll just end with this. This is one of the things that Alan said, because of course we were also having conversations about, you know, you can take someone's brain chemistry or look at someone's brain waves, just like you can look at someone's heartbeat and tell like what kind of emotions they're entertaining, because emotions, or, you know, thoughts and emotions like have an effect on our body chemistry, obviously, right? Like, because in the case of like what thought or emotion are we entertaining, which nervous system are we going to activate? But it goes way beyond that. And so then we were talking about a faster heartbeat normally correlating with the sympathetic nervous system, but he was talking about how the flow state, for those of you who have read that book, Flow State, I think that's what it's called. He's a European scientist who Mikkel something, someone who's watching this will know. But when you get into that flow state, it's actually the greatest athlete or performer, the goal is to be able to even do, perhaps big feats with your body in whatever way, services or performances or whatever, that maybe your heart does have to beat is necessarily beating really fast to generate a lot of energy and blood flow, but your mind is able to remain perfectly calm. So you are actually able to exist in the parasympathetic, relaxed, rejuvenating nervous system while performing high energy physical feats. So that is the goal, is even when your heart is beating faster in times that it may need to. And again, of course, as you get into, higher and higher levels, like your heartbeat never raises as much, like that's all going on as well. But it's even if you are needing to exert a lot of energy, even if you are in a high pressure situation and your body can perform there, that you're getting that release of realizing that the best thing you can do is relax and stay calm. You know, let it come through you. Let it come through you. That's a relaxing thought. Like when I relax, it comes through me. Rather than when I like do this, I feel like I am the only one that has to do the things to. So next time you feel yourself getting caught up in stress, getting caught up in what, fight or flight, parasympathetic nervous system, fear, pressure, try some of these, try a sigh, maybe an audible sigh, try, a prayer with your head down, try and maybe just like big blinks with your eyes too, or closing your eyes, right? Closing your eyes is a good one too, so prayer is like, or meditation is like a great activator of the sympathetic nervous system, parasympathetic nervous system, of the parasympathetic nervous system, rest and relax, because you wouldn't close your eyes if you felt like you were about to like get eaten, right? So that's a big signifier of relaxation as well. So, all right, well, it's getting dark. I'll just show you guys a bit of the sunset because I think it's really beautiful, and I'm about to go feed horses, but here's a little bit of what we're looking at out here. Carter Mountain, Spirit Mountain, Rattlesnake Mountain, and there's Heart Mountain over there. All right, love you guys. See you soon, and can't wait to hear from you.